Even in the revenues and profits also, particularly talking in terms of the profits, because that is the bottom line is what ultimately counts. Obviously, if it is Iran anta helidre, so it is a Middle Eastern country. So Middle Eastern country anta helid takshana actually we know what it is famous for: oil. 1.84 lakh crore liters of crude oil potentially we can actually dig from this particular place anta people are talking about. So this is going to be really huge. Hello, Namaskara. This is Ramesh for ee dina. Ivattin content actually ಮೂರು ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. One is the sectoral performance in terms of revenues and profits for the last quarter for the financial year 2024-25. And the second one is Israel-Iran war in the India ge what is the issues. And the third is black gold on the Indian Ocean. So these three are the contents. So the first one is, we'll start with the sectoral performance. So on the last one, the Yarada Moor idrinda videos in the, I had spoken about, the first video I had spoken about the different asset classes available for investing. So investing it not only into the share market and into this thing. So what are all the different asset classes that are investment ಮಾಡೋದು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ kind of it had thumb rules and everything for investments. ಅದು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋನಲ್ಲಿ ಆಯಿತು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋನಲ್ಲಿ ಟಿಪಿಕಲಿ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್, ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಓವರ್ಕಮ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಬೆಟರ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಬೆಟರ್ ಫ್ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಅ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋ. ಸೊ ಅದೇ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಯೇಷನಲ್ಲಿ ದ ಥರ್ಡ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಟುಡೇ ವುಡ್ ಬಿ, ಇವಾಗ ಸ್ಟಾಕ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಆವಾಗ ಯಾವ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮಿಂಗ್ ವೆಲ್. ಸೊ ಸೆಕ್ಟೋರಲ್ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ವೆನ್ ಯು ಡೂ ಎ ಡೀಪ್ ಡೈವ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ದ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ವಿಚ್ ಕಂಪನೀಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ ವೆಲ್ ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅವಾಗ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಇನ್ ಬೆಟರ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೈ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ ಇವಾಗ ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಇಯರ್ 2024-25 ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ದ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಕಮ್ ಔಟ್. ಸೊ ಟಿಪಿಕಲಿ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಟ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಈಸ್ ಯುವರ್ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ದೆರ್ ಇಸ್ ಒನ್ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಫ್ರೇಸ್. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕ್ವಾರ್ಟರ್ ಫೋರ್ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಕಮ್. ಸೊ ಟಿಪಿಕಲಿ ದ ಕ್ವಾರ್ಟರ್ ಫೋರ್ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಬಂದಮೇಲೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರುತ್ತೋ, ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಕಂಪನೀಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರುತ್ತೋ, ಟಿಪಿಕಲಿ ಆ ಒಂದು ಮೊಮೆಂಟಮ್ ಹಿಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ದೆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಫರ್ದರ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಡೂ ವೆಲ್. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಯೂಶುವಲಿ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಅನಾಲಜಿ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಒಂದು ಕ್ರಿಕೆಟ್ ಗೇಮಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು T20 ಮ್ಯಾಚಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು 2-3 ಓವರ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಇಫ್ ಸಡನ್ಲಿ ದ ಬ್ಯಾಟಿಂಗ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಗೆಟ್ಸ್ ಅ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ರನ್ಸ್, ಸೊ ನಿಂಗೆ ಅವಾಗ ಆ ಮೊಮೆಂಟಮ್ ಹಿಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ದೆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಬೆಟರ್. ಆರ್ ಅಟ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಇಫ್ ದ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಬೌಲಿಂಗ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಪಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅಪ್ ಸಮ್ 2-3 ವಿಕೆಟ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ 3 overs, ದೆನ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಮೊಮೆಂಟಮ್ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಟುವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ದ ಬೌಲಿಂಗ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ಸೊ ಅದೇ ಥರನೇ momentum is something that actually which the companies will get, and the sales team and marketing team will will want to push that momentum going forward and do better sales in the next quarter and the next financial year going forward. So hangagi nam sectoral performances na nodkondu bandre actually it always helps in better investment. So iga sectoral performance anta nodidre actually I first will talk about the sectors which did not do that very well in terms of the revenues and the profits. So revenues will be the top line and the profits will be the bottom line. So even in the revenues and profits also, particularly talking in terms of the profits, because that is the bottom line is what ultimately counts. So investors will always look at the bottom line. So hangagi there will be some companies, some sectors actually which did not do that very well. Maybe one ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ losses ಇರ್ಬೋದು, maybe ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಆ ಥರ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಕೆಲವಿದೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ದೆನ್ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಟಾಕ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ sectors which did well. So the sectors which did not do that very well in Q4 2024-25, banks, IT software industry, finance, the non-banking financial institutions, automobile, FMCG, the fast-moving consumer goods, aerospace and defense, steel, cement and auto ancillary. So these are all the sectors. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಅಷ್ಟಾಗಿ actually the performance in terms of the revenue and the profits were not that great. And the sectors actually which did well. So because this is the area which you have to concentrate on, so that it will help in better focusing on this areas for investments. And ilde hodrunu actually you can shuffle around your portfolio depending upon where you are, right? So the sectors which did well in the last quarter was the capital goods, pharmaceuticals, power generation, insurance, chemicals, realty sector, retail sector, healthcare, e-commerce, consumer durables, alcoholic beverages, hotels and restaurants. So these are all the sectors which did very well. Ivaga 1, 2, 3 ಅಂತ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದರೆ the first the sector which did extremely well in the last quarter with about 51% of the profits it reported was alcoholic beverages. Okay, so the ethanol blending companies. Second is realty sectors, and so the real estate sector about 47.27%. Third is the capital goods sector, 46%. Fourth is consumer durables, about 39%. Fifth is hotels and restaurants, about 37%. Sixth is insurance, 28%. Seventh is retail, 28%. Eight is chemicals, 24%, and so on and so forth. Pharmaceuticals, 21%. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಈ ಥರ ಇದಾಯಿತು. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಡಿಡ್ ವೆಲ್. ಇವಾಗ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಡೀಪ್ ಡೈವ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ವೆನ್ ಐ ಗೆಟ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಈಚ್ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಅ ಲಿಟಲ್ ಮೋರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ದಟ್ ವಿಚ್ ಕಂಪನೀಸ್ ಡಿಡ್ ವೆಲ್ ವಿತ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಅಂತ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಬಂದ್ರೆ, banks actually will, I don't have all the sectors, I've just chosen about 4-5 sectors just to give an example, a representative sectors. Banks, overall actually banks did about 3.28%, so did not do that very well in terms of the profitability. So ಈ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಡೀಪ್ ಡೈವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ HDFC ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅಂಡ್ ICICI ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಇದೆರಡೂ actually these are all the large cap banks, like huge market capitalization. HDFC Bank did about 6.88% is the profit. I'm only talking about the profitability. This thing, reported profit. ICICI Bank did much better, 15.7%. SBI, the largest, the bank in the public sector bank, interestingly, loss of 8%, so minus 8.34. So hagidre which banks? So typically, if you look at it, the private banks have not done that very well. But adre public sector banks have taken over. So Punjab National Bank 49.28%, Indian Overseas Bank 34%, Bank of India 65%, Union Bank of India 50%. So the public sector banks actually ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಬೆಟರ್ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮೆನ್ಸ್ ತೋರಿಸಿ ಓವರಾಲ್ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ನ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಎತ್ತಿಡ್ದಿದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಹೋದರೆ actually the sector would have gone into negative. The next one is I'm going to the capital goods. Capital goods, fantastic. It did about 47%. The sectoral performance was 47%. Fantastic. ಒಳಗಡೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ. So this is all because of actually a lot of infrastructural spend by the government and also the private this thing. So typically the government pushes for all this kind of things. So both the central government and the state governments. ಇವಾಗ ರೀಸೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಇದನ್ನು ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಒನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಚೆನಾಬ್ ಬ್ರಿಡ್ಜ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ವಿಚ್ ವಾಸ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ದ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಹೈಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ರೈಲ್ವೇ ಆರ್ಚ್ ಬ್ರಿಡ್ಜ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ 359 meters above the Chenab river. So ಈ ಥರದ್ದು ಮೆನಿ ಆಫ್ ದೋಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ದಿಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ ದ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಹವ್ ಡನ್ ರಿಯಲಿ ವೆಲ್ ಸೆಕ್ಟೋರಲಿ. ಒಳಗಡೆ ಹೋಗಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಲಾರ್ಸನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಟೊಬ್ರೋ L&T ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಡನ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ 19% ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ಸ್. Suzlon Energy 320% it has done. So this company has been phenomenal, followed by GE Vernova which has done about 181%, Premier Energy 167%, Hitachi 61.79%. So these are all, so one self actually capital goods is a very good the sector to invest in, and this will continue also for some time. NBFC is my next sector that I am picking up. This is the non-banking financial institution. So this is actually also ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಅಷ್ಟಾಗಿ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. 0.55% is a sectoral returns that it has given as a profit. ಒಳಗಡೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಡೀಪ್ ಡೈವ್ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ actually some of the things which has done well is Sundaram Finance about 66%, Bajaj Housing about 53%, India Renewable about 48%, and then Muthoot Finance about 30%. So these are all the good companies which has actually given good results. Mikkidella kelavu which has not done good, so adrindane actually average agogbittu the overall NBFC has come down to 0.55%. So these are all the ನಾನು ಇವಾಗ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು, these are all the good companies which has given very good results in terms of financial results I'm talking about. Next is the pharmaceutical industry. So pharmaceuticals industry, as I said, has given a sectoral performance of 27% profit. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಲೂಪಿನ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಗಿವನ್ 114, then Biocon has got 131% results, and then the profit, this thing, Laurus Labs about 209% profitability, and then Cipla about 30%. So ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ one of the reason for the pharmaceutical industry to do well was because even after the tariffs were announced by Trump, of course ಇವಾಗ 90-day ಒಂದು ಪಾಸಲ್ಲಿದೆ, ಬಟ್ ಆದರೆ ಟ್ಯಾರಿಫ್ ಅನೌನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ್ಲೂ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಫಾರ್ಮಸ್ಯೂಟಿಕಲ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ನ ಟಚ್ ಮಾಡಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಮಿಕ್ಕಿದೆಲ್ಲದ್ರ ಮೇಲೂ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಟ್ಯಾರಿಫ್ಸ್ ವಾಸ್ ಅನೌನ್ಸ್ಡ್. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಫಾರ್ಮಸ್ಯೂಟಿಕಲ್ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬಿನ್ ಅ ಲಿಟಲ್ ದಿಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇನ್ ಎನಿ ಕೇಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಡಿಫೆನ್ಸಿವ್ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಇದು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಕೀಪ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಯಿಂಗ್, ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಕೀಪ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ ವೆಲ್ irrespective of what happens to any other this thing, because medication and this thing is all required all the time to people. So next I'm having a telecom. So the telecom, actually Bharti Airtel has reported fantastic profits, 185%, and then Bharti Hexacon is 116%, and then Railtel Corporation has reported about 55%. Next, the last one is reality sector. So the reality sector also has done phenomenally well. 47% returns it has given as a sectoral returns in the last quarter. Otherly, the biggies actually are Shobha Developers. 481% they have reported profits for the quarter 4, 2024-25. Fantastic reports. Fantastic kind of reporting of the profits. Then the macro tech developers have reported 38%. Keystone realtors have reported 111%. Then the DLF, the biggie, about 40%. The revenues also have been fantastic, 46%. And then Anant Raj has again reported about 51%. So overall, actually what I'm trying to say is that these are all in terms of investing madbekare in the stock markets, and when you choose companies, when you choose this thing. So first of all, sectoral nodkobeku, yav sectors are doing well and yav sectors are not doing well. So the sectors which are not doing well, stay away from that. The sectors which are doing well, adaralli you can go deep, you can do a deep dive. Adaralli yav companies are doing well ant heli. All this information is available if you go to moneycontrol.com or if you go to NSE India. Illalla hodre actually you have all that the financial information and all the data is available over there. So adanella study ಮಾಡಿ, then actually you can invest in this thing. So some of the kind of thumb rule kind of this thing is that look at the top line and bottom line, very very important. So that the revenues and the profits. ಈ revenues and profits I was only talking about the Q4 ಇಲ್ಲಿ, but in general actually ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ continuity ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕು, consistency and continuity. So quarter on quarter, year on year, actually if you look, you should look at the profitability increase ಹಾಕೊಂಡೇ ಬರ್ತಿರಬೇಕು, revenues increase ಹಾಕೊಂಡೇ ಬರ್ತಿರಬೇಕು. Those are good companies to invest in. Second is actually if you look at the financial ratios, the ROCE, the return on the capital employed, actually it should be at least, it should be greater than about 10%. So minimum is 10%. And ROE, so this is particularly for all the equity investors. So ROE is the return on equity. So that should be at least about 15 to 20%. So that is a decently good company to invest in for the shares. EPS, the earnings per share, should be again greater than about 10%. And then the PE ratio, the price to earnings ratio, should be typically between 20 to 25. And then the dividend yield should be at least greater than about 2%. So these are all some of the good companies that you can choose and you can invest in. So this is the sectoral, this is the first this thing of my content. I will then shift to the Israel-Iran this thing. So I'm not getting into yen conflict avriburdu ant helbiಟ್ಟು, I am only trying to focus on what is the problem for India with this particular thing. So obviously if it is Iran anta helidre, so it is a Middle Eastern country. So Middle Eastern country ant helid takshane actually we know what it is famous for, oil. So as soon as some kind of a war erupts and all these things, ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, the international oil prices, the crude prices starts going up. So which is what happened this time also. So the crude prices ಇವಾಗ already it is about $78 per barrel. And if this continues, so the Israel-Iran war can also turn into Iran-US war as well. We don't know. So hangenadru if this continues anta helidre, then actually then we will the international crude prices will keep going north. So if that keeps going north, then obviously actually now we kind of import about 85% of our oil needs are imported. So hagagi namdu our bills will start going up. So namdu usually annual spend on the on the crude oil is about $140 billion. So other actually it will start going up north. And also it will add to the inflationary this thing, because yella commodities, so it will actually based upon the crude oil, the other things actually will also start going up. So inflation will start getting affected. So this is one part, one normal kind of general part. Innondu one very critical, one very special and different kind of a problem also India is facing. So which is actually a geographical problem, a logistical problem. So, and the kind of shipping route problem. So that is what is the bigger problem than the oil prices. Idu ಏನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, there is something actually, first of all, India doesn't import from Iran at all. India doesn't import oil from Iran. ಯಾವ countries ಇಂದ India imports oil ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, from Russia, from Iraq, from Saudi Arabia, from UAE, from USA, and from Kuwait. So totally about $140 billion worth of oil every year ನಾವು ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ the major chunk, the lion's share is Russia. $50 billion ಗೆ Russia ಇಂದ actually we import oil, followed by $27 billion from Iraq, $20 billion from Saudi Arabia, 14 billion from UAE, 6.6 from USA, and 4 from Kuwait, so, which makes up about $140 billion per year annual spend. So ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ Iran ಇಂದ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಏನು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. But the problem what India will be exposed is, as I said, the geographical problem is something called as the Strait of Hormuz. So a strait andre ಏನು, strait is nothing but a small little kind of small little water body which connects two bigger water bodies and sandwiched between two land masses. So ಇದೇನಾಗಿದೆ, actually there is a Strait of Hormuz ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಒಂದು there is one tipping point, one point of this thing actually, which is this strait runs between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. And the Persian Gulf, actually about 20% of all the crude oil supplies and all these things, it actually passes through the Strait of Hormuz. So this is basically a major oil and gas shipping route. So idenagide, actually ivaga Iran is actually trying to say that if the war continues and the war becomes bigger and then US nammele idu dali madak shuru ಮಾಡಿ ಏನಾಯಿದಾದ್ರೆ, we will close the Strait of Hormuz. We will close ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, they can't literally close it, but we will not control anymore, we will not monitor anymore the Strait of Hormuz ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ನಮಗೆ ಇಂಡಿಯಾಗೆ, actually if you look at it, Iraq in the about $27.4 billion worth of oil, Saudi Arabian oil, and then the UAE oil. Idu ellanu actually it is more than Russia now. Okay, idu ishtunu it has to pass through the Strait of Hormuz to come to India. So adenadru problem aitu anta helidre alli, if we get into some this thing, then avaga enagutte, we will like we will have kind of problems with the supply. ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಈಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಗೋಸ್ ಅಪ್, ಅಂಡ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ದ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ದಟ್ ವಿ ಮೈಟ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಇನ್ ಟು. ಸೊ ಹೋಪ್ಫುಲಿ it will get resolved and then we will not get into that problem ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ಸೊ straight away actually, as I said, apart from the inflationary thing into the commodities and everything, the other sectors, immediate sectors which can get affected because of the oil, this thing could be aviation, chemicals, paints, tires, and cement. So these are all the sectors directly which will get impacted because of the crude oil issue. So this is regarding the Israel, Iran, and nam India again problem agate anta helbiಟ್ಟು. Then the last one that I'm going to cover today is about the black gold. So the black gold in the Indian Ocean. So basically ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, India is in the verge of discovering a huge oil reserve in the Andaman seas. So that can be a real game changer for India. And now actually we have been exploring, we have been trying to kind of dig around and this thing. So actually Trump, in fact, our American president admele, actually he has been talking about one particular phrase, drill baby drill. So basically that the more you drill and oil idu madidre, then that is actually going to help this thing, right? So India go actually ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, since we have these kinds of problems, so first and foremost is $140 billion worth of import bills we have to pay every year. And secondly, 85% of our oil is actually, it has to come from ಔಟ್ಸೈಡ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ, ಅಂದರೆ 15% ಮಾತ್ರನೇ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಸಿಗೋದು. 85% ನಾವು ಆಚೆ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದನೇ ತೊಗೊಂಬರ್ಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಇದು ಎರಡನೇದು. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಮತ್ತು ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಮ್ಮದು ಇಫ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ರೆಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ದ ಡಿಪೆಂಡೆನ್ಸಿ ಆನ್ ದ ಅದರ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೀಸ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇವಾಗ ಏನಾದರೂ ವಾರ್ ಈ ಥರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ದೆನ್ ಅಗೈನ್ ಇಮಿಡಿಯೇಟ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಗೆಟ್ಸ್ ಇಂಪ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ದ ಆಯಿಲ್ ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಅಪ್, ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಆಯಿಲ್ ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್. ಸೊ ಎವ್ರಿವೇರ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ವಿ ಗೆಟ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಎ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್. ಸೊ ಇಫ್ ಅಟ್ ಆಲ್ we actually hit a very big this thing, and this particular oil reserve that what we are talking about in the Andaman, it is going to be as big as 1.84 lakh crore liters of crude oil potentially we can actually dig from this particular place anta people are talking about. So this is going to be really huge. So they say this is going to be the new Guyana for India ant heli. So ಈ Guyana for India ant ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಏನು, what is this Guyana ant ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ actually Guyana is a very nice beautiful story. So Guyana is a small country which is in one of the Caribbean island countries. It is a part of South America. ಅವ್ರಿಗೇನಾಯಿತು, ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ದೇ ವೇರ್ ಅ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಲಿಟಲ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ಅವರು GDP ಬಿಫೋರ್ ದೇ ಸ್ಪಾಟೆಡ್ ಆಯಿಲ್, ಬಿಫೋರ್ ದೇ ಡಿಸ್ಕವರ್ಡ್ ಆಯಿಲ್, in 2014 is when they discovered oil. So before they discovered oil, the GDP was about $3.2 billion. And after they discovered the oil, their GDP in 2023 went up to $16 billion. So that is the kind of actually leap that the oil gave them. Also in terms of the per capita income 2015 alle they were $4,000. So $4,000 ಅನ್ನೋದು actually with reference to Indian per capita income even today it is $2,468. So in 2015 itself actually Guyana was better than India. So $4,000 ಇತ್ತು. ಇವತ್ತಿನ actually in 2023 after 9 years after they hit discovered oil 18,000ಕ್ಕೆ actually move ಆಗಿದೆ. So the per capita, so that is how the kind of we can also, so what people are talking about is that if this really happens, India can go from somewhere like 4.2 4.3 trillion dollars ಇವಾಗ whatever GDP ನಮ್ದು ಇವಾಗ ಇದೆಯೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ we can shoot up to $20 trillion. So we can go even beyond China. But of course ಅದು ನಾಳೆ ನಾಡಿದ್ದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ವಾರದಲ್ಲಿ 2 ತಿಂಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ, because in any case that takes time. So once you hit the, and also every drill, actually one well drilling actually takes about $100 million ante. So it is very expensive and people have been drilling. And Guyana nallo actually they drilled somewhere about 43 wells, and then the 47th well alle they hit the jackpot. So we are also doing a lot of drilling. So the drill baby drill, whatever Trump talked about, so that is what we have to do. And hopefully we have sniffed something. So if this really gets into, if this really becomes a reality, then this will help India into a very big actually kind of leap into the becoming the second largest, because ಮೂರನೇದು actually we can cross Germany very easily in terms of the GDP, very easily ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, because they are also about 4.8 or 5.2 or something like that. So we are 4.2. So just about $1 trillion, $1.2 trillion difference ಇದೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಇಬ್ಬರಿಗೂ. ಅದನ್ನು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದು. But China is about $18 trillion. So something very huge has to happen for us to leapfrog that one. So hopefully this black gold is our jackpot. So let's keep our fingers crossed and this thing. So that's all I had for today. Thank you very much.
ಮತ್ತಷ್ಟು ವಿಶೇಷ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳನ್ನು ನೋಡಲು ಮತ್ತು ಹೊಸ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಿಳಿಯಲು
eDina.com ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಮತ್ತು ಬೆಲ್ ಐಕಾನ್ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ.